Hey folks, it's your buddy Smokey, and here we are with the 11 rack, and we're doing this on a really small budget because I'm just using the tiny little device I normally record on. But here's the layout. Now this is the rig I usually use on most of the gigs I've been playing. It's a great unit. I can just pop it into my bag. I don't keep it in a rack. I have a nice padded bag. I take it around in, sling it over my shoulder, boom, I'm on the way. And for those of you that might be reluctant to use processing, because sometimes, it's not exactly been something that always sounds good. You can get close on some units. I've been really fond of this because of the impedance aligned input they have going on with it. What it does is, instead of normalizing your guitar signal the way a lot of processors will, and will take the signal, and part of the processing power is used to make any guitar sound like any other guitar. It normalizes the signal, it takes the impedance, kinds of washes it away, and spends a whole lot of power on just leveling things out. So say when you roll off your volume, if you're on a crunchy patch, it stays crunchy, it never cleans up. This won't do that. There's an analog circuit right at the beginning of the piece that makes sure that the impedance is the impedance before anything ever hits the processing unit. So the processor is not spending any energy at all on normalizing anything. It's a nice analog circuit in the front, makes sure that the impedance that's coming out of the guitar is hitting the processor at the impedance that it's coming out at. But the interface is really simple. It's not that intimidating. You don't need a degree to run this thing. So here I've got a plexi patch that I use a whole lot. It's sort of my crunchy rhythm patch, and it rolls off and it cleans up very nicely. Inside of it I also have a tube screamer that I use for solos if I just want to stay on this patch, if it's going to be the kind of gig where I just really need one sound, or I'm going to clean it up, dirty it up, push it harder, and I'm not switching through a bunch of things. This is the patch that I use. And, here it is. You've got your presence control, your bass, your mid, your treble, volume 1 and volume 2, as you would have on a plexi. You've got two volumes going. I've got them kind of high, but I roll the volume off, so I'm living in that sort of crunchy, clean area. And that's it. You want to change something, you just tweak the knob till you find, the sound you would with any other amp, be it a tube amp or a solid state. There's the front. There's the knobs. No big deal. Again, you don't need a degree to run this. And boom, there it is. That's the interface. It's nice and simple. It makes sense. Also within the unit, I've got this patch set up where there's the JRC overdrive, which is the tube screamer overdrive. I've also got a roto speaker in there, a little bit of tape echo, orange compressor, the Dynacomp, orange phaser. There's the effects loop. I usually just keep a volume pedal in there for overall volume control. And then as well, there's your reverb as well. So that's pretty simple. I'm running a Voodoo Lab Ground Control Pro, running MIDI into the back of it, and done. Simple. Now, the one thing I've always heard from people that are sort of snobby about tube amps and won't use a processor is that, I'm not a button pusher. I don't like being a button pusher. But in front of their tube amp, they'll have, 10 to 20 pedals. Guess what? You're a button pusher. The only people I know that don't push buttons are classical players, flamenco players, acoustic players, and straight-ahead jazz guys that just go right to the amp. Anything else between you and that amp, and guess what? You're a button pusher. So if I'm going to push buttons, these are the buttons that I push. It's the 11 rack by Avid. Normally new, they're about $800. And they come bundled with Pro Tools. I got mine at a severe discount because the gentleman who was selling it needed to make some money real quick. And so I got mine for less than a quarter of the price. I didn't get the Pro Tools with it. It's okay. That's not why I got it. I got it because no matter what kind of gig I've got called for, I've got something written in here for it. And I can plug into any effects loop input or into the front of any amp, and I don't have to worry about the consistency of my tone. I just don't have to worry about it. I've always liked processing units for that very reason. And I currently have this going through the back of the Carvin X300? SX300. I've just got it going into the effects return. That's it. It's just going straight into 100 watts of solid state power, 2x12. That's all I need. So when you look at the Live Animals Trio video or any of the Lori Laner's videos, that's what you're hearing. You're hearing the 11 rack. So that's it. Done. Nice and simple. Everything I need. You see here I've got a twin for clean. Currently the default has some chorus and delay on it. There's that plexi. I've got a Blackface Fender Deluxe with vibrato set up. And sort of a Mesa Boogie high gain, very, very modern sound if I'm doing something fusion-y. Right now I've just got the ground control set up for the 4 different voices, and then the other buttons on the ground controller set up to bring in and out any other effects I want on the fly. That's normally how I run it. I don't need more than 4 sounds in a night, and depending on the gig, sometimes just 1. So, the other day I had done a little restaurant gig, popped this in the bag, didn't even take the ground control with me, set up the one patch I knew where if I needed a little more push, I just rolled up the guitar volume, and because of that wonderful impedance circuit, I didn't have to worry about the thing trying to normalize my sound and not be able to roll off and get a clean sound, push it a little harder by rolling it up, and boom, I've got more of a bluesy, gritty solo sound. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. My Avid 11 rack. It's your buddy Smokey. Thanks for checking this out. Take a look at one of these things at a local music dealer, or if you're curious and you find one online on the cheap, you can find them sometimes for about $200, and that is a fucking steal, let me tell you. And just go ahead. You can get the owner's manual online at Avid. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's actually a better owner's manual than the owner's manual that came with the Ground Control Pro. While I love the Ground Control Pro as a unit, the owner's manual is written like stereo instructions. It's really dry. It's not set up in any good particular order. And that's my only bitch about it, was the manual was really silly. The piece of gear itself is fantastic. So here it is, my Avid 11 rack. Everything you hear that I do has been coming out of this for the last, year and a half now. So, and everything you hear on the videos has been this. So it's your buddy Smokey. Go check out some processing. Don't be a snob. Tubes aren't always the way to go. There it is. Have a good night. See you later.